Hey guys, Outdoor Enthusiast 88 here again. So in front of me I have two of the most popular handguns for concealed carry. All right, we have the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield in 9mm. I've had this for quite some time now, quite a few years actually, and this is one of the generation ones that first came out. They're really kind of hard to get at first for the first couple of years. Not a single hiccup with this still to this day. Well over 1,500 rounds I think by this point, and it's shot excellent. This is a great concealed carry option. And on the right here, I actually have one of the newer Ruger LCP 2s. This one is a small, compact, it's actually almost like a micro-compact firearm. It's considered more of a pocket carry. And this shoots 380. Of course, the shield's a 9mm. And what I want to show you guys before we bring it in on the table to kind of show you a little more details about the differences and all that, the biggest thing is how they shoot. And I'll tell you right now, the Shield, of course, is going to be much more comfortable than the Ruger just because of the size and the round that it's shooting. I mean, with this being a 9mm, it's a little bit soft, but of course it's got some kick to it with the Shield. Not a whole lot, but with this, it's really lightweight, and we'll talk about weights in a little bit. Small, it's got all these angles on the grips, so you might want to get like a hoe grip or something like that, or wear gloves, but this is not as pleasant to shoot by far. Even being a 380, this is harder to hit, I think, as well as not as fun to shoot. So that being said, let's get some shooting done. All right, so we're actually gonna make this kind of fair, okay? We're shooting the same kind of ammunition out of both. We have the Freedom Munitions 9mm, Freedom Munitions 380. Now the 380 itself actually is the flat tip. Show you guys right there. Little flat tip there. And of course the 9, typical 9. All right, so first up, let's go with the Shield, see how she does. Do 2 mags of each. The Shield holds 8 rounds in each mag, and the Ruger LCP 2 holds 6. Let's see how she does. Those are about maybe 7 yards away. Those 2 gongs, maybe about 10 yards or so back to the dirt pile. And then that gong way out there is about 25 yards. All right, not too bad. Let's try the 380 next. I do have a little pinky extension on this one, so you can see that you get almost the whole hand on there. The Shield, you get all your fingers on, but you're missing the pinky here. So that itself makes it kind of snappy and hard to control. But let's see how we can do. 6 rounds. Missed the last couple there. All right, Shield again, 8 rounds, 9mm. Let's go ahead and see if we can hit the gong. There you go, it's hitting kind of low, so I had to kind of adjust, but hit the gong, pretty good. Let's try that 380. This is gonna be kind of a nice test for this one right here. I tell you, that thing is snappy, especially if you don't have the little pinky extension. On this one, you're like relying on this last finger with only half a grip on there. So they did pretty good. I want to say that in terms of likability so far for shooting, definitely the Shield. And let's go ahead and bring it on the table, show you guys a little more in depth of the specifics. But I wanted to show you first off how they shoot, which is one of the most important things.
Alright, so we're back to the review table now, guys. So this video is actually not going to be about a clear winner or a loser because both have pros and cons for these two handguns. One is much smaller than the other, but only holds 6 rounds. The other one is a little bit bigger than the other, but holds 8 rounds. And then, of course, one seems a little more snappy when you're shooting it versus the other one, but again, the concealability might be a huge factor in why you pick a concealed carry handgun in the first place. So let's talk about the pros and cons of both of these, kind of why would you buy one over the other, and just kind of talk about my points because I've actually carried both of these for quite a long time now as a concealed carry, and I carry them differently depending on what I'm doing that day, where I'm going, what I'm wearing, and we'll talk about that. So let's jump into this box here. So this is actually a future review I'm going to be working on, so stay tuned, you'll see this again. But pop these tabs here, and you got your Smith & Wesson Shield in 9mm on the right, and your Ruger LCP2 and 380 on the left. And you can see right out of the box here that they're completely different sizes. It's something you can't really notice too much of the range when you're kind of looking at them just from a distance, but when you get them really close, you can really tell the size difference and why this Ruger LCP and the LCP2, you know, this LCP2 here actually is considered like a little mouse gun because it is a very small 380 pistol. I mean, it's just crazy how much smaller it is than even the Shield, which is considered a fairly small 9mm. You can see that right there. Lining up muzzle to muzzle there, into the barrel. It's actually kind of fits inside a Shield frame, basically. So the Shield has always had a great reputation. The trigger, all these are clear by the way, the trigger has been really great right out of the box. You can see that right there. Now the LCP2 is a much improved trigger design over the original LCP. Now the LCP always had a horrible trigger, it was really heavy. Now this one actually has a much lighter trigger and has this new little dongle here. And I'll show you guys, it has a little take up there. Not too bad at all. And that's one of the benefits to why this is much easier to shoot more accurately, I think, than a lot of people think. It takes some time to get used to that trigger, but once you do, you can really get used to it. Now, of course, the other problem is with this, even if you took a magazine, put it in there with a pinky extension, you can see clearly you have very minimal contact points. And that is a big negative, I think, to this right here. And that's why it's not exactly a great range gun, all right? I don't know why it's not locking back, but there you go. That's one of the reasons why it's not a great range gun, because after a while with only 2 fingers on there, your hand's gonna start hurting back here. And I don't know if this new redesign is actually as ergonomic as it used to be. They made a new 9mm Ruger as well, I think the American series. The same kind of grip here, and everyone kind of talked about how this weird, awkward back strap here really kind of hurts your hand. I can kind of see that it's kind of blocky. There's no real kind of ergonomics to it, and that's part of the reason why your hand gets kind of sore after 50 rounds shooting this. Whereas the Shield is based around the M&P series of Smith & Wesson, and they have always been based around ergonomics. This, of course, has a Talon grip on it, so that helps as well. This is actually the one I carry the most, but if I'm in a hurry, I grab this and just throw it in a pocket, and we'll talk about holster options, but this is an awesome gun just to drop in a pocket. They make pocket holsters so it stays up like that. Or you can kind of put it at an angle like that. Either way, you can, as soon as you reach in your hand, you can grab it, take it out. But that's an awesome kind of deal with these right here being a pocket pistol, where this is, you can use it as a pocket pistol, especially like a flush mag, but you notice the size. I mean, it's definitely a bigger handgun, and it's kind of top heavy too. It's not, this is a much more balanced gun, I think, compared to this because of how much smaller it is. Whereas this seems a little top heavy, so if you put it in a pocket, it's going to start kind of doing this number and kind of nose diving or kind of trying to lay on its back here on top of the slide. But so that's kind of like initial thoughts on these, seeing how I do try to conceal carry these almost daily. But let's go ahead and talk about holster options. So for holster options, I think the Shield actually wins here. They have a lot more options. The Shield is kind of like the Glock 19 of concealed carry. It really is. It's something where if a holster is being made by a company, most likely they will have a Shield model on hand. So it's definitely easier to find holsters for it. That being said, it's funny, the Ruger LCP2 comes with the holster right here that is the only holster you really need. I mean, being a pocket gun, what this is actually has a little bit of grippy kind of rubberized texture there, and then it's kind of a felt, and then in the inside it's kind of padding there. Now, what it is actually a pocket holster, so you just slide it in, and this goes ahead and rests right there on the bottom of your pocket. So when you reach your hand in your pocket, you can just go ahead and grab this, and the trigger guard is completely protected, which is good. You can just go ahead and grab this, draw your pistol, you're ready to go. So So that comes with that, which is really good. But you can also buy aftermarkets for holsters as well, which actually this is a Concealment Express holster inside the waistband, made specifically for the Ruger LCP2. You can see right here, this is kind of something you'd put on your back at the 5 or at the 5 o'clock position, 4 o'clock position, 3 o'clock position, somewhere around there, depending on what you feel. The funny thing is this can actually work really well at the 3 because there's not a lot of width to it. So it's something where you can actually rotate this around almost anywhere in your belt, and it's gonna be just as comfortable as anything else. It's something you're gonna really forget you have on, just because of how light and how thin it is. Now that being said, of course, the Shield has more options to holsters. Of course, this is another Concealment Express holster I've used almost daily. I mean, this is one of the ones I really enjoy. It's really quick. I keep this nearby, so if I go on a walk with the dog, grab the Shield, clip it on, away you go. Make sure you bring your concealed carry permit in states that need those. But so this actually works really well. Concealment Express, same thing as this one. You can actually make it as like an appendix carry if you want to go straight up and down. I've done a full review on both of these, but just to kind of show you guys. And of course, the Shield also has some options with outside the waistband as well. Here's one right here. So you can go ahead and tuck this really close on the outside of your belt, which is really good. So holster options, I mean, they're plentiful. I do think the LCP2 has a lot less options available currently, and that could change in the future, but really a lot of people only carry these in the pocket, which I've noticed, so that's something to consider, being how this is more of a pocket carry firearm, but you can get some inside the waistband. I think you can find some outside the waistband too, but it's one of those guns you might not be, you're not gonna be drawing and shooting with a bunch of holster work, but you might, you never know. So for the LCP2, you can do a couple of things. You can actually go ahead and just put it in your front pocket, like so. And it's something where you're not gonna really notice it as much. It's definitely something on your leg like this that's kind of annoying, so that's not my favorite spot. My favorite spot is actually putting it in your back pocket. Now, what's funny is it looks kind of like you're just having a wallet in the back of your pocket there, but it works really well. And it's something that no one's gonna really question, hey, there's a gun in the back of your pocket, because they will have no idea. So that's a good spot for it. And of course, like I said, you can put it right in the front, like so, but you can see how that holster is curved, the one that came with it, the pocket holster, so that it can kind of hide and conceal that you have a gun. But of course, you can see there's a little bit of printing there. So that's not my favorite spot. Now, the ideal spot would be an inside jacket pocket, or maybe one of the outside pockets in your jacket that kind of go straight up and down. You could go on the side, but you're gonna have the problem with this kind of tilting. So that's something to consider. Now, I said earlier, the Shield is kind of considered a pocket carry, but it's also not. So let's say if you have the full 8-round magazine in there, trying to pocket carry a Shield means you have that much more width. You can see right there, it's not as easy to conceal. And even if you did something like you just did with a pocket, it's not even about concealing the gun shape itself, it's about the actual width here. So even a pocket holster for the Shield won't conceal the fact that you have a long piece of metal or polymer sticking out like that. And that's something to consider. I mean, obviously pocket carry, some people do carry like this. You can go and get the flush mag, and that does help a little bit, but it's still a pretty bulky firearm to be trying to conceal carry like that. So this is definitely more of a inside the waistband, and of course the Ruger LCP2 you saw can use inside the waistband as well. So let's talk about the biggest factor here, and that's weight. A lot of folks like to see kind of what these firearms weigh. Right now they're both unloaded with one magazine there. What I'll do is I'll take the mags out, we'll weigh them unloaded, no magazine, kind of give you guys a comparison on what each weighs. Obviously you can tell by the size, this is going to weigh a lot less than the Shield. Now, of course, the other thing to notice is that there's a lot of different types of magazine types you can get for the Shield versus the LCP2. The original LCP actually had extended, I think, 7 or 8 round mags. I think they even had 8 or 9 or something, but they actually had extended mags, but those do not work with the LCP2, but they are coming out with 7 rounds. I think they already have one out, actually the 7-round extension, but they have a flush that comes with it, as well as one pinky extension that comes with the firearm. And then of course the Shield comes with one of the extensions, and it comes with, I believe, one of the flat here, but you can also buy extra ones that have like the 8-round mags like that, or you can even buy one that goes on the 7-round with a little pinky extension, which really helps with actually shooting this firearm, because when you don't have an extension on there, you're kind of in the same boat you are with the LCP2, where you're missing kind of a pinky. Now you can kind of get it on there a little bit if you kind of scrunch up a bit and kind of ride it kind of high there, but with the extension, see if I can lock it in there. There you go. With the extension, you can really get all your fingers on there, and it looks really nice, but you're still shaving a little bit off the back here, so it's a little bit less printing, which is good, because it's actually on the back here. There's actually less print going on there if you have this holstered, so this kind of works really well. So let's talk about weight. So load this up here. This, of course, is unloaded, no magazine. 1 pound. 2.7 ounces, which is 18.7 ounces overall. LCP 2, no mag, unloaded, 9.5 ounces. So you're looking at a pretty significant drop in ounces. So 18.7 versus under 10 ounces for the LCP2. That is very significant due to the fact that of the size and the actual material being used. I mean, this thing there's nothing to it. It's real small, so that's actually a huge benefit to this right here. And again, like I said though, you know, it's something to consider is if you want the 9mm or the 380. 380 is notorious for being a little bit less powerful, right? Just because of the nature of the 380 round itself. However, you're looking at significant more weight when you jump up to the 9. So let's look at the sight picture and the sights on these firearms. So the Ruger LCP2 has a pretty good sight picture. The sights are much higher than they used to be from the original LCP2. They are not removable, not adjustable, so you can't go ahead and slap on new sights here. They're part of the slide, but they work pretty well for what they are. And like I said, they're definitely an improvement over the last generation for the Ruger LCP. Then you look at the Shield. You got nice adjustable, you can drift the sights, you can go and put on new sights. They have a lot of different kinds of night sights for these, and it lines up really well. 3-dot system, really nice there. They have an anti-snag here, so it's easier for EDC concealed carry on the rear sight, which some people don't like that just because they like to have a kind of a ledge here to rack it on your belt. But for EDC, this kind of works well. And here they are side by side. Overall, they both work as intended. I mean, they are just small pistols for EDC and concealed carry, so they work fairly well. There's no need for high suppressor sights or anything like that, but there you have it. So let's take a look at the two kinds of ammunition for these firearms. You have 9mm here on the right with the Shield. You have 380 here on the left for the LCP2. Now, 380, of course, is less powerful than 9mm. We all get that. It's a smaller round, and not only is it a smaller round, but 380 is only 100 grains for the most part, whereas 9mm is 115 grains, which, this is just an example, but Freedom Munitions, this is what usually I go and try to buy in bulk and shoot. I also go to Walmart quite a bit. Try to find the best deal. I don't have any sponsors, so I pretty much buy what I can at the best price to use for range days. And you can see 380, of course, is less powerful because of the fact that it's a smaller round. Now, you can see side by side, you can tell it is a smaller round overall. It looks very similar for the same size bullet, you know, a little shorter. Case is pretty similar, just a hair smaller. But 380 has also come a long ways in technology, because 380 now you can get a few more options than you used to be able to get, but not as much as 9 still. Now 380 you can get like critical defense here with the FTX bullet technology, which is much more potent, a little more stopping power, which is primarily what I carry, and I'll show you, these are the two mags I usually carry with this 380. I'll go and I'll load this up, probably usually do 6+1, sometimes I do 5+1, whatever, you know, either way, make sure I have a full mag ready to go. And then I also have a full mag on the side, which I think this stuff is just cheap. I don't even know if it's Freedom Munitions. No, it's actually like Perfecta, so Walmart special, there you go. So, you know, I carry these two. This one in the gun right here. There is the Hornady right there, critical defense. I try to rotate this stuff out. It's actually a good practice to go and shoot through a mag of this stuff once in a while. Whatever you do carry, shoot through the mag, load it up again at least once in a while every few range trips, because you want to make sure not only does this ammunition still work well, make sure it's not getting gummed up in the magazine if you don't unload these all the time, but just to make sure that you can shoot accurately and make sure it won't jam the gun up still. So it's good practice to kind of dump those out once in a while. Now for the 9, you know, I'm actually using, I could use critical defense. 9 has a lot more choices for ammunition, in my opinion, than 380. This stuff right here is Independence 115 grain hollow points. So pretty much basic stuff, except hollow points. So what I do is I'll pick one of these two magazines when I carry. You can see right here, same procedure, dump these once in a while, shoot them, make sure it works, all that good stuff. You get yourself a 7-round and 8-round. So you could do 8+1 or 7+1, whatever you want to do, but here they are right here. So basic hollow points, nothing fancy, no FTX bullets or anything, but they'll do the job. And then if I don't want to actually go and use, let's say, if I'm carrying like this one in my concealed carry, 7+1, and instead of this, I will carry this as a backup, which is just ball ammunition. Now this is probably, yeah, this is the freedom ammunition stuff right here. So this stuff right here, you know, I'll carry a full mag on the side here, 8 rounds, just ball ammunition, nothing fancy, so that's good for a backup. Now, talk about price real quick. So price on ammunition, obviously the critical defense hollow points are very expensive. This stuff's a good deal because it's nothing fancy, but it does the job for hollow points. However, it's pretty cheap because you get a 50-round box, which is basically bulk pricing for hollow points, because hollow points that are really good, depending on what you get, usually come in these little 25-round boxes, and they're very expensive. Like, I'm talking 75 cents a round, very expensive. So you don't shoot those very often, but it's good to run through a box once in a while. This stuff right here was like 15 bucks for a box of 50, so it's obviously a much better deal. But in terms of 380 versus 9, let's say because 9 is such a global round, this stuff right here, a box of 9 will cost you 10 bucks for 50. Let's say if you go to Walmart right now, 10 or 11 bucks per 50. 380 though, this stuff is not as popular. So not only will 9 have like 12 options at Walmart to pick from, 380 will only have 3 options, and they'll be ranging from $14 to $20 a box of 50. So something to consider. 380 is a little more expensive because it's less used. But again, it's smaller, which means smaller pistol. So let's talk about how you're gonna disassemble these two firearms. Now, disassembly and cleaning is very important to both of these guns because they're both used for everyday carry, concealed carry. So what you wanna make sure is to clean them after almost every range trip and clean them regularly, even if you aren't shooting them. Things like dust and debris and pocket lint, things like that can kind of gum up the systems, and you really need to make sure that you keep them clean, especially something like this gun right here. I have not cleaned since my last range trip, so I got to get that done because this one is going to be in your pocket quite often, and you really don't want any kind of debris to get stuck in there because you never really know what's kind of lying in your pocket and can get it kind of gum up here when you actually need this. And the shield is very similar. I mean, the shield, you know, I shoot this one a lot more, mostly because the 9mm is more available and it's cheaper, and I think it's a little more comfortable to shoot, but both of them are very important to keep clean. So to disassemble them, the shield actually is very similar to most other firearms on the market. What you want to do is make sure they are clear. Go ahead, lock the slide back, pull this lever down, let the slide go forward, and pull the trigger. And it slides right out. That's exactly why you want to check to make sure every gun you pick up is unloaded, make sure there's nothing in the chamber. Now for the LCP2, you see right there, there's actually a pin right here. So there's no actual takedown lever, which is kind of annoying. That's kind of a design flaw, I think, for this. But what you want to do is go ahead and you just want to relieve a little bit of pressure on that pin. Take yourself a blade here, which I find is the easiest way to not mar up your slide like you might do with some other like bullet tip or something. Go ahead and pop this pin, take the pin out, and this slides right off very easily. So they're both similar in how they come apart, and they both have the same kind of spring systems as well as the guide rods and the barrels themselves, so that's not too much different to take apart. And I'll show you on the shield. This kind of just pops off, comes out like that. Put the barrel back in, put the spring back on, go ahead, put it back on the slide, and away you go. I will say the spring for the slide on the shield is much heavier than the LCP2, and that is something to make note of. For someone who might have a little bit weaker hands, you might actually prefer the LCP2 slide because it's easier to rack the slide. But you see, just put a little bit of pressure back on, push that pin in, you're not gonna have any problem putting this back together. All right, so wrapping this video up, so you got two of the most popular styles of handguns For concealed carry, right here in front of you have the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield and the Ruger LCP2. One's a 380, one's a 9mm. And I showed you guys kind of why I carry each one and what scenarios we carry each one with. And it's something really, you guys, it's up to you what you want to do and how you want to use these. Because really, I mean, if you want to do something that's high concealability, you're going to want to go with this little LCP2. It's a 380 with 6 rounds. You can do 6+1, carry another 6-round magazine on you. And it's something that's really small, something that fits in the palm of your hand. You don't have to worry about it that much. It's pretty light. I mean, under 10 ounces is crazy. So super light, something you're going to totally forget you have in your pocket. That's a great benefit to this right here. However, if you're used to carrying a full-size pistol, or if you want something a little bit more compact than like a Glock 19 size gun, then this shield is for you because you have the 8 rounds plus 1 of 9mm, plus you can carry another 8 rounds on you. And it's going to be something that's pretty concealable, especially with inside the waistband. You can also have outside the waistband, but not so much just throwing in a pocket. It's too heavy, really, for a pocket. It's something that's going to really kind of weigh you down. If you put it in a jacket pocket, it's going to be swinging back and forth, and it's just not as concealable as this in a jacket, but it's still something great for inside the waistband. So that is my final thoughts, guys. Let me know if you have any questions below. I'll be happy to answer them. I've shot both of these quite a bit. I've owned them for quite some time now. And definitely hit that subscribe button below. And I'll see you in the next review.